The other day, I went on eBay, I looked up MacBook Pro, and I sorted price low to high. I bought the first one that worked. So, the cheapest working MacBook Pro on eBay. What was it and how much did it cost? Well, what I ended up with was an early 2006 MacBook Pro 15-inch, and it cost me just 50 bucks. Of course, now that I say that that's the cheapest, someone's gonna be like, oh look, I found a 2014 MacBook Pro Retina display for $14.67. So what did my $50 get me? This MacBook Pro is, fittingly I suppose, the first MacBook Pro ever made. It was hot off the heels of the newly deceased PowerBook line and rocking Intel's brand new Core Duo processors. This particular one is the base model with a dual-core 1.83 GHz T2400 Core Duo processor. Fun fact, Apple announced the MacBook Pro with a starting processor clocked at 1.67 GHz, putting the 1.83 at a higher price point, but by the time they started shipping units in February, they made the 1.83 the base model, and the upgraded one became 2 GHz. That is the only time Apple has ever shipped processors that were better than what they originally announced. My unit also has an 80GB hard drive, and the RAM is maxed out at 2GB. The machine originally shipped with half a gig. For graphics, we have an ATI Mobility Radeon X1600 with 128 megabytes of VRAM. So these specs obviously aren't anything too special right now, especially compared to other MacBook Pros or other computers for that matter. But we also have to keep in mind that this machine is 12 years old and only cost $50. So let's examine the physical condition of our unit. First things first, this computer is definitely showing its age. I have to say it's in really decent condition for a 12-year-old laptop, but there are a few things off about it. For one, the listing had mentioned that the screen showed signs of yellowing with age, but once I opened it and took a look, I was absolutely shocked. I mean, just look at this display. It looks like it's eternally stuck in night mode. It looks like it hasn't brushed its teeth in 4 months. Although, I suppose it would also be pretty easy on the eyes if you're doing work late at night on this, so I guess that's a positive. Moving down to the keyboard, the backlight just looks a little bit sad for some reason, but more importantly, the keys feel so worn out, they have almost no tactile feedback. They feel like they just want to take a nap and just never do their intended function. It feels almost as though these springs are worn out and they're just really soft and mushy. The spacebar is also especially unusual. It only really clicks on the right side, and it just feels like it's crooked for some reason. Additionally, the trackpad button is so gummed up it barely moves and makes for a very odd clicking experience, and the trackpad surface itself is so worn that it's very hard to smoothly move the mouse across the screen. Also, when you turn on or wake up the computer, the CD drive makes the most baleful wailing sound. It sounds like it's being stabbed in the kidney and it's crying out for help as it struggles valiantly against its assailant. It really is a depressing sound every time you open up the computer. It's about 30 seconds worth of buzzing and clicking, and it just sounds like it wants to be put out of its misery. But anyway, this computer really isn't usable in 2018. It's old, it's got a 32-bit processor, it's really not that useful to be honest. This thing was obsolete almost immediately after it was announced because Intel released Core 2 Duos, remember this uses a Core Duo, at the end of 2006. That meant that the 32-bit only Core Duos that were in the MacBook, MacBook Pro, Mac Mini, and iMac that were released in early 2006 were already significantly dated by the end of the year that they were introduced. As such, this machine only runs up to OS X Snow Leopard, as Lion dropped the 32-bit Core Duos from support. So in a couple days, I'm going to have a more in-depth cinematic video about the history of this device and why I think it's so significant, so make sure you stay tuned for those videos. Well, that video. So is this device worth the $50 it costs? Probably not. Aside from installing Linux to turn this into a semi-usable machine, I can't realistically see any use for this device. My machine came with Snow Leopard on it, and it handles very, and I mean very, light web browsing, as well as email and word processing, although the versions of Word and Pages are extremely outdated. I also found that a good 80% of programs and websites just don't run on software that's this old. So really, the prospects for usability of this machine are very, very low. Also, a quick search of the serial number reveals that my model was made in February of 2006, just a few weeks after the MacBook Pro was announced, and right around the time that the first unit started shipping. This really is one of the first MacBook Pros ever made, and was probably in the very first batch of deliveries. Still, despite its age and underpowered hardware for 2018, the original MacBook Pro is very special to me. That's because this represents the start of an era. This is the first Mac to have Intel processors announced alongside the original Intel iMac. This also represented a very, very important shift away from PowerBook and into the very well-established MacBook line. This computer ushered in the modern age of Apple computing, and for that I think it should be celebrated. And speaking of celebration, I'd like to thank XVPN for sponsoring this video. Their VPN service uses 256-bit encryption to secure your internet data and protect your identity online. Their VPN allows you to set your location anywhere in the world and create a totally anonymous browsing experience. This works on Android, iOS, macOS, Windows, and Linux, and offers competitive pricing options. To try XVPN for free, just go to their website, click Try It Free, and then create your account. It's very simple, it's very easy, and it's secure. You can learn more about XVPN on the App Store, Google Play, or xvpn.io. And with that, I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment below, all that stuff. Also, I've got a Twitter that's working now, so go ahead and follow me there, and feel free to join my subreddit. And with that, I will catch you guys in the next video. What, which credit card do I owe the most? I don't have a credit card, so I don't know how you're getting this information.
Oh my dog, you don't have any charge card?
No, I don't have a credit card, I have a debit card.